Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw News Brief. Be sure to smash that like button an even odd number of times.
Ooh. Odd number, not even, odd.
Odd number. Let's try to get this one up to 600 likes. Larson, what is in the essential news of the day?
Oh, the essential news that everyone needs to learn about is that apparently WWE, at least in the state of Florida, is in fact an essential business.
Ooh.
So yesterday on News Brief, we talked about WWE going live from the Performance Center going forward for the foreseeable future. But given Florida's stay-at-home order, we were wondering how the heck was this happening and why is it happening? It doesn't seem like it would work. Everybody's supposed to stay home unless you're an essential business.
Right.
Here's a pro wrestling company saying they're going to run live shows. And that hardly seems like an essential business. But as announced yesterday, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has in fact declared WWE an essential business. The news was first broken by Orange County Mayor Jerry Dennings during a news conference yesterday. When asked why WWE was allowed to continue production, he responded, quote, "Initially, there was a review that was done, and they were not initially deemed an essential business." I'm going to try to, best I can, add the emphasis where he added it, because I listened to the audio.
Okay, yeah, sure.
With some conversations with the governor's office regarding the governor's order, they were deemed an essential business, so therefore they were allowed to remain open.
Yeah, he's taken that squarely off of his, yeah.
Yeah. But why exactly? ESPN obtained a memo from Florida's Division of Emergency Management, which lays out some additions as to what qualifies an essential service, and listed, and the third entry at the bottom of this memo is the following verbiage, quote, "Employees at a professional sports and media production," wonder who that is, "with a national audience, including any athletes, entertainers, production team, executive team, media team, and any others necessary to facilitate, including services supporting such production, only if the location is closed to the general public."
So,
very specific language there.
Has anybody said anything about the UFC moving operations to Florida at this point?
No, but there's a lot of speculation following this that it was so. I mean, you could tell this language is by and large, especially with the inclusion of entertainers, yada yada. I wouldn't say specific to WWE, but it seems to pertain largely to their nature of their operation.
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
Interpreted to include like another professional sports leagues,
well,
NBA,
so like
baseball,
I mean,
etc.
Obviously with the NBA, given that like the somebody had been tested positive, the NBA is a 30-team league, a massive operation. If Dana White was talking about getting a private island and doing it bare bones with a skeleton crew, it stands to reason that this could apply to them. So I mean, we're not an MMA podcast, but that just sort of sprung to mind. It's like, man, is Dana White going to be running to Florida at this point? And how bad are his lobbying skills if he can't get it done and Vince McMahon can?
Well, I mean, I know Dana White is a huge contributor to the presidential campaign. I think he's the second or fourth largest donor to that one that Linda McMahon runs. Apparently, Linda McMahon is also tied for fourth largest contributor to that super PAC she works for. Anyways, pretty much every article I've written about this order or addition to the list of essential services includes some sort of speculation about whether the UFC is going to jump on.
Okay, yeah. Because
you'd assume
that seems singularly like the sport, the major sport that this could apply to as well. I mean, the other ones are just too big.
Well, I mean, like logistically, they would be too large. But half of Major League Baseball teams have spring training in Florida. They all have facilities there. As it is. The ones who train there, same in Arizona. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it is possible, even though you're essentially asking every player to be away from their family for months on end anyways. So additionally, ESPN received a statement from Governor DeSantis' office, which read that these services were essential because, quote, they were critical to Florida's economy, and noted, quote, sorry, that's from a different thing. My apology, that's for later on. I had that wrong spot. So essentially what Governor DeSantis is saying is that WWE having the Performance Center in Orlando and shooting shows there is essential to the not just essential, critical Florida's economy. And therefore is essential service, and therefore they continue operation. Well,
you got to also wonder. So we'll get into some like there's been some interesting behind the scenes rumors about this stuff. Sort of explaining the process. Actually, we'll just get into this now because I'm kind of surprised that one thing wasn't dangled or so far. So like WrestleVotes, I think, had mentioned that Tampa was the front runner for 2022 WrestleMania.
Yeah, 38, maybe a 38, yeah.
Yeah, obviously 2021 has already been booked for LA, but then 2022, they're going to go back to Tampa. I wonder if that could have been a carrot that they were dangling. Hey, we could come back to Tampa and pump. I forget what the number is in terms of how much is pumped into the economy during WrestleMania, but it's a pretty significant number. So I wonder if that, particular carrot was dangled. But right here, Sportskeeda's Tom Collahu reports that, quote, Fox, who broadcasts SmackDown on Friday nights, took part in the lobbying process encouraging this decision, and added Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has apparently been the subject of a significant charm offensive from the McMahon family, and DeSantis is believed to have been swayed by the argument that the WWE being housed in Florida represents a significant investment in the Floridian economy. Now, this obviously opens the door for WWE to continue operations, but could these new guidelines also apply to other promotions? We already talked about UFC. So what's interesting about this, though, is, yesterday we sort of talked about, or was it yesterday or 2 days ago, we talked about how Meltzer was saying, we're not sure if Fox or USA has encouraged this at all.
Yesterday, yeah.
If they have told McMahon, hey, our contract says you're live, or if they haven't, and he's just trying to cut this off at the pass. If this is true, if what Tom Collahu is reporting is true, then Fox is totally is one of the backers of this, which is like one of the most cynical things I've ever heard. And just, I'm sorry, but these are giant corporations, who want to get a heads up on things, or leg up on things. We've got the live stuff. We've got the live. There's no other live sports going on, live sports entertainment going on right now. We've got that.
Yeah.
So, by the way, were you able to find out this morning if Raw was in fact live last night? Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. So, yeah.
I listened to a good chunk of Wrestling Observer Radio. I looked at all the usual news sources, nothing one way or the other.
Yeah.
It's Wrestling Observer Radio is a good listen today.
There's talking about Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida.
Yes.
There is, and so I was fairly ignorant about his situation, his position, his record. There is now I'm not always a fan of Chris Cillizza from CNN. Sometimes he just seems like he's not on the same page as I am. But today he wrote up an analysis, and the headline is this: Florida's governor keeps hitting new lows in the battle against coronavirus. So that alone, and it's just a list of the fact that he didn't close the beaches when everybody was spring break partying out there. Yeah. He was late on the shelter in place order. He's been late.
He wants to try to reopen by May 1st.
Yeah, and he hasn't even according to this, he hasn't yet approved retroactive unemployment benefits for those who have lost their jobs. Also, he's been one of the people pushing what is it called? Hydroxychloroquine.
Oh yeah, they've done some
hydroxychloroquine. Yeah,
killed people.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, this is a guy who obviously is not immune to maybe being charmed, wined and dined to do things that are maybe against the public's best interest.
Well put.
So, not surprising here.
Speaking of someone who might have done something against the
shareholders
of others, in this case, investors and shareholders, let's talk about Vince maybe not being completely forthright about the exact ownership nature of the XFL vis-a-vis the WWE. So amongst the info that was dumped in the bankruptcy filing of the XFL yesterday was info about who exactly owned the percentage of shares in the company. According to those filings, Vince owned all of the Class B stocks, whereas and he owned all but 23.5% of the Class A stock. That 23.5% was owned by the World Wrestling Entertainment.
What's the problem with that, Larson?
He said that wasn't going to be the case. Throughout the launch of the leagues, Vince was pretty adamant that the XFL over here and WWE were going to be this, not this, this, not this. Separately. Ordered, operated separately. Saying as recently as February during one of WWE's financial calls regarding any crossover between the WWE and XFL. This is according to Wrestling Inc. He said, no, there is none of that. We have 400 employees over here, and it's run by itself and vendors. while acting CFO, I don't know if he's still acting CFO, but in February he was. Frank Riddick added the XFL wouldn't be a part of WWE's investments.
Yeah, Pro Football Talk notes that WWE, quote, received equity in the XFL or at no payment or other financial obligation as apparent consideration for granting McMahon the authority to launch the XFL via a separate entity, Alpha Entertainment, LLC. Still, the equity interest contradicts McMahon's claims there would be no crossover with WWE. Obviously, there was.
So I'm guessing the idea was that whatever intellectual property rights WWE still owned of the XFL bought with, or there was an arrangement made where essentially Alpha Entertainment, am I getting this right, got WWE shares in exchange for the intellectual property of the XFL WWE still owned.
I guess right? So. I don't know. It seems like there's stuff here that's happening that the McMahon...
Oh, sorry, the other way around. WWE got equity in XFL in exchange for the intellectual property of the XFL. WWE, Vince McMahon still owned. That's what it was.
Okay. I had thought
WWE, not Vince McMahon. Sorry.
I had thought that the XFL had purchased that from the WWE for like a set price that was like a low price.
Yeah, they did with stocks.
Well, no, but I thought that was actually like a cash payment that like the stockholders were like, wait a second, that seems low. I thought that was like in like an earnings report of some sort.
That could be.
Anyways, Darren Rovell, writing for the Action Network, reports that, quote, Alpha Entertainment's offices were a stone's throw away from WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut, and sources tell the Action Network that there was frequent traffic between the two buildings. It was known among both companies that certain employees were, quote, essentially working two full-time jobs, according to a source, one for the wrestling organization, one for the football league. Also, it sounds like Vince is trying to sell the league rather than shut it down at this point. Really? He's trying to sell it then?
He's trying to sell. Well, I mean, good luck selling the entire league. That's not going to happen. Yeah. But just assets, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
One interesting point that Meltzer mentions on Wrestling Observer Radio today is that when the first time the XFL went out of business, they were lucky enough to sell a bunch of the helmets in the league. That was my reaction. So he says maybe some of these NFL teams are looking to buy more helmets.
There you go. Maybe he wants some
for pennies on the dollar.
Janky XFL helmets. Who knows what shortcuts they took with those?
I mean, they promised. That's one thing the XFL said on the relaunch of this: be safe for football.
Yeah.
So who knows? I'm not a financial type guy. I didn't at first understand this whole stock transaction, so that's evidence right there. I don't know anything about financial stuff, much less the legalities of making these public statements and having them not be true. I don't know. Potentially not be true. I don't know if him saying separate entities, whereas WB actually owned a bit of the XFL, if that's an issue potentially.
I don't know. Yeah.
Or Vince, I just don't know. It's not a good look though.
Well, yeah,
We've already had at least one, if not two, class action suits filed on behalf of WWE stockholders against the company.
Yeah.
For purported misstatements.
Yeah.
And misrepresentations.
I don't know what the consequences of this could be if stockholders are going to be mad. Stock price went up by $1 today. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, McMahon, dude, throughout his career, McMahon has been very crafty. So, and that continues. It's shocking. This stuff just happens in broad daylight, man. It's crazy. Like, how in the hell is the WWE deemed in a sense? That's insane. They're critical to Florida's economy? What? So... I don't know, man.
How many people do you think are employed by the Performance Center in Orlando?
Actually,
not the wrestlers.
Employed?
Yes, actually employed.
I don't even know if the full-time coaches there are employees or if they're independent contractors. I honestly don't know. I thought I had read one time that they were independent contractors, but I have no idea. I mean, it's not when I went anyways the one time, speaking anecdotally, it wasn't a buzzy place. It wasn't like there was, besides the group of YouTubers and media people that were there, it's not like there was a bunch of people running around offices and stuff. It was a pretty sleepy place. Again, that's my one experience with the place. And so I have no idea what it's like on a normal day when the nerds aren't in. So yeah. I don't know. I hesitate to think it's that many though.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know, man. This is all, it's all interesting stuff. It's funny because somebody in the comments yesterday, I had to laugh this off, said, I came here for wrestling. Stop talking about virus stuff. It's all interconnected.
It is.
You can't talk about one without talking about the other. What are you supposed to say to this empty arena stuff?
Oddly, the arena shows they're happening, but we can't talk about why.
It's like, oddly enough, there were no fans in attendance again. 0 people, the zero attendance of 0.
Continuing their non-sellout streak or non-attended streak.
Larson, can you explain to me why are there no people? Why are there no crowds here?
Sorry, due to YouTube commenter, I'm not at liberty to comment.
Sorry, can't say anything about that.
Yeah.
Anyways, oh man, let us know what you guys think in the comments. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.